for those who are online watching. And today I'm going to just show you how I'm going to do a watercolor in chiaroscuro's method. Chiaroscuro means light and dark. So it's an Italian word. Chiaro is light and oscuro is dark. So other artists who have painted this, you might have heard of them, Caravaggio, Raphael, Da Vinci. They're the great masters. And I want to teach you how to do watercolors using really intense dark colors so you can get dramatic results using the light and dark together. So the first thing I do after I choose my subject matter is I take my watercolor paper and I stretch it on board, and I take it and I put it in the tub and I just wet the one side, and then I put it on my board, and then I take paper tape and then I tape it down. You have to wet the one side and then you tape it down. Then you let that dry completely. Do you guys do that? Okay. That's how I learned how in college, and that's how I've always done it. 30 years ago I graduated from college, and still doing the same method. So after I get my paper, it's completely dry. It might take a few hours. You let it dry flat. Then I'll draw my subject matter onto my paper and mask it and do whatever I need to do to prepare. Now, to do the background, it would take a couple of days to do that background, just to do layer after layer, letting it dry in between layers. So I did a little sample here of what it's like. Here is one layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. So I'm just going to do one more layer so you can see what it's going to look like. I like for darks, instead of just using one color, like indigo is a great dark color, I like mixing my darks up, and I use Imperial Purple, and I'm sorry I didn't put this on your your handout sheet, but I also use an ultramarine blue, some Quin Rose, right head, and some sap green, or you could use hooker's green. But those make a great dark combination, and what I'll do is I'll make a few different batches of varying colors. One might be a little on the red side, one might be on the little green side, and one on the purple side. And you always want to mix enough paint before you start, because you don't want to get halfway through your background and you run out, and then you're going to have like dry marks, and that's a little hard to recover.
What red did you say you used?
Quin Rose. And sometimes if it's too pink, I might add a little bit of green. I also, for the backgrounds, especially when you're covering a larger area, you want to wet the background first. If I've done it where I've tried to just do it dry and you start painting it and you're like, the paper just sucks it up, your paint, and then you have those marks. So to paint clear, I'm going to just do another. We're just going to paint over the entire thing. And when you get to the darker layers, it does want to come up at some point. It will start pulling up, so you get to a certain level where you're like, okay, I think I better quit there. Oh, that's a little bit. See how dark you can get just with those four colors. You can get really dull colors as well. You want to maybe add some purple. I'm going to put some more red there. Then you would just let that dry completely. And that's what I've done with this background. I've done about 4 or 5 layers. I also, to prepare for the masking, I used a watercolor washout tape I've only found this on Jerry's Artorama. I don't know if you can get it anywhere else, but I would also, when I put it down, I also cut it. I tried to do a little landscape around the cat's head, and once I got this on, then I also used some masking. I used a fine line resist pen to do the whiskers, and then the other parts I used this Misket liquid frisket. This is great as well. This one comes out pretty fast. This one comes out very fine. Sometimes it gets clogged and it's a little bit of a pain to use. I see some people nodding their heads, but it does make fine lines, and it's amazing. So I'm gonna start painting the cat. I'm gonna sit down here so my head's not in the way. All right, I always start with the lightest colors first. So when I'm looking at my photo, I'm deciding, okay, I'm gonna do these lightest tans, and I'm gonna mix up some yellow ochre. So I already have some pre-mixed colors here that I was working on. Mixing colors, it takes a little while, and I wanted to save as much time as possible. And also like realistic colors. So I'm not gonna use it straight out of the tube. I might wanna dull down a yellow umber with a
Yellow umber or
I'm
ochre?
sorry, yellow ochre, thank you. Yes. Yellow ochre, and I put a tiny bit of imperial purple in it just to dull it down a little bit. And I usually do just go work, I don't wet my paper normally if I'm doing the fine details. Switch out my glasses here. Much better. Every single one. Okay, so I do some negative painting here where I see some the hair here. So I'm gonna just paint what's behind the hair there.
Skin.
This, yes. More hair. And I did put some masking fluid on where the whiskers are and some of the fur just to retain some of those sharp highlights. Another thing is when you're painting, you have to wait till it's completely dry before you remove your masking fluid. So I'm just going to add some more, a little bit of raw sienna and burnt umber to the yellow ochre for under the eyes, get a little bit of darker.
What size brush are you using?
This one is a size 4. And this one is a Princeton round. I believe they have these over in at the trade show. Princeton brand.
What's the kitty cat's name?
No, this is a friend's cat, and I did not get the name of the cat. But I am gonna tell the person that I'm doing this, I'm gonna give this painting to them.
What? Not a raffle?
No, oh, raffle. This is not the paint around. No, just kidding. 8 a.m. is the paint around tomorrow morning.
Have you always painted in this style?
Let's see, pretty much. Yeah, if you look back at my college paintings, I pretty much always painted realistically, and it was just something that I don't know, it just is your style. You know, when you find your style, you just know that that's you. I tried different mediums in college. I was, you know, did printmaking, oils, so all of the different things. And when I discovered watercolor, I was like, that's my medium.
What did you say you used the watercolor washout tape for?
That is a masking tape that I created all along. I put all along the cat's. If you call this a landscape, you know, I created, you know, a masking area. So then I went over top of the masking, and that masking tape, and did more with the fine line resist pen and, you know, this
So
applicator.
then the tape just peels off?
Yeah, and then you just peel it right off, and then you will use this gum eraser to remove the masking, which I did leave some of the masking on there. And that comes right off. And then after you peel all of that off, then you can start painting. Because you also have to wait till the background is completely dry before you pull all that masking off. Yes. And another thing that helps to get a realistic look is when you soften the edges, that helps get it more realistic. If I leave all of these hard edges in here, it's not gonna look, you know, as realistic as if you have those softer edges. So that's one thing I would do, you know, I would try to make sure I soften my edges. And even around the cat's, you know, the print, called the landscape of the cat's head, you know, I'll soften those edges. And now I'm using a golden natural blend quill. I do believe they have this over at the trade show in the silver brush area.
that color mix?
Okay, so I noticed when I was painting this cat,
I think it's a palette.
I basically stayed with the yellow for the browns, the yellow ochre, Rossian, and umber, but then I also just mixed some imperial purple, hooker's green, and quin rose. It's like I just stayed with those certain colors. I mean, it was just more intuitively. I wasn't intentionally trying to stay with the color palette, but that's what it ended up being.
So back to your dark, you mix that with those three colors, and then you hedge one towards the red, and one towards the green, and one towards the purple, blue.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's actually 4 colors: the quin rose, ultramarine, imperial purple.
Sap.
Was there another one?
Green.
The sap. Yes, thank you. Sap green. Sap green.
Sap?
Yeah, it was a sap green. I think I mostly did that one. Yeah.
So who's the imperial purple? What manufacturer?
Daniel Smith. Yes. When you're trying to paint realistically, I think the best way to go about it is just to keep painting. The more you paint, the better you get. And when you're trying to get into art shows, it's really good to check out who the competition is. So you see what the previous year, who painted the previous year, who got into the shows, and you look at what other people are doing, and then you can see, when you just study what other artists do and you see, oh, wow, that can be done in watercolor, that is just very motivational to try to attain that kind of quality of painting. And that really helped me to push myself to paint better and paint more, and just to see what I can achieve.
Now, do you have a drawing underneath there? Did you draw it?
Yes, I do have a drawing there.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
we
my
can't quite see it.
Okay,
I'm
yes,
sure.
it is a guide that helped me. And I try to paint as many, like even a shadow, I might draw a shadow in to try to see where that shadow goes. If I have a really complicated painting that I'm working on, I'll spend a lot of time just studying the photo and try to formulate in my head a plan. How am I going to do this? Where do I start? And one time I had a large painting. I'm like, it was so complicated. I drew a little sketch, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this area first. And I just kind of made myself a little map of what to do. It can get really complex. Some people make grids. I've done that before, where I make a grid and I put the painting in a sleeve, and you have the grid on the sleeve, and so then you know that square on your paper. You literally have to draw a grid on your paper, and that's very intense.
Do you take the photos yourself? of
Yes,
subjects?
yes. Now this particular one was a friend's cat, so that I did not. But whenever I do pretty much any painting I do is with my own photos, especially if you want to get into a show.
Right.
You always need to take your own photos.
So you have a high-quality camera?
Yes, I have a Canon, I'm not sure, EOS something. Sorry, I don't remember what it is. Yeah, this quill brush it holds a lot, and it can get detailed, so it has a little point to it.
What's your favorite brand of brushes?
I use a Skoda a lot. Skoda is one of my favorite brushes. Okay. I'm going to work on this. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit, I have some Quin Gold, which I'm going to mix with some yellow ochre to do the ear. See the light is shining through the ear. And use a different brush. Let's see, what is this? A Raphael 3 round. So I'm going to make that. So mixing some Quin Rose and some raw sienna. Get this area here. And I did have a drawing to indicate like where to paint this. When you're first starting your painting and you have a lot of, you're just gonna be building up the layers. I feel like you kind of have this ugly stage where it doesn't like look like much, and but as you build layer onto layer, it comes to life in front of you, and I think that's the most exciting thing about, especially painting people. When I'm painting a person and it's coming to life in front of me, I don't know, it's like giving birth.
Without the pain.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Maybe it's like on drugs. I don't know.
These all look pretty small. Is this your standard size?
Normally I would do a half sheet. This is a smaller size because I knew I couldn't do a whole lot in a demo. So I thought I'm going to just try a little bit smaller and see if, to get more done.
Is there any way to focus on just that instead of the whole?
Yeah, I wonder, can we zoom in? Is there a zoom in possibility?
There is.
Okay, I have our tech person? Yes, that would be great.
So in the dark area on
This
the
area?
net, will you go back over that again?
Yes, definitely. Yep, so this will be one layer and then to build it up layer after layer to get that intensity. Yeah, let me move that. Let me just move the stuff over a little bit. So you can see the cat better. Better?
Great, very nice.
All right. Two. Okay, here, let me see. You don't do that. We didn't get well, a little bit.
There you go.
I want to see the photo.
We need the paint.
You want to see the paint as well. Okay, zoom out a little bit. Is
There we go.
that okay?
That's perfect.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Let's start over. Okay, my name is Karen. No, I'm just kidding.
You're in the back?
Great. Not very well? Okay. Oh, we need to see the cat too. How's that?
Good.
Wait,
Sorry, okay.
do that. Okay. Okay, now I'm using a silver Bella Aqua number 6 round. It says it's 6, but it's really small.
Yeah.
The Bell Aqua, I was just looking at those, they're definitely running smaller.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just getting some burnt umber and a little bit of raw sienna and a dab of imperial purple. Okay, I'm just gonna look on this ear.
And that's how you soften, by running a little water
Yes.
next to it or over?
Yes, yes. And then another way to soften edges is I have a little short-haired brush, and then I will wet that, and I will soften the edge of this ear. I will go through the entire thing and just soften that edge. You don't want any hard edges.
So it looks more like fur.
Yes, yeah. Because really, nothing in life is really that hard edged, except maybe some Legos or something. But even then, from a distance, they're going to be a little bit blurry to the eye. So normally, when I'm done, I will go through and soften all of these edges.
Nice.
Even the hairs, I'll soften that up a little bit. One of my favorite parts is the eye. I love painting the eye because then it's really coming to life.
Mhm.
Did you say you took this picture?
No, I did not take this picture. No, this was a picture that I got from a friend of their cat.
Do you know how they took it? Was it in the dark with a flash?
I'm not quite sure.
So when you work from photographs, do you make a point of making it such the contrast, or are you able to take like a normal picture and then?
That's a good question. This particular one, I didn't enhance it in any way. It was already that dramatic. So I didn't have to do anything with that. I have done that before where I've taken picture and then I tweaked it on my phone, and made the colors really wildly dramatic. And that was like, wow, that was cool. So I used that for a painting. I have done that before. Normally don't do that, but that is possible.
So the bulk of your photos are staged in a
Yes.
a specifically lighted area where,
Yes, or even like travel pictures, they're just, when you take so many photos, you just have a lot to choose from.
Do you always paint exactly what's in the photo, or do you decide I'm gonna change this up?
Most of the time it stays the same. It's just like a guide. But every artist has their own interpretation of what they're seeing. So I feel like I'm trying to get it to look like the photo, but I'm coming out into the painting. So that's part of how everyone is so different. So if we both paint the same thing, it's gonna look so different. I'm just gonna go back into this ear and bring some pink in there, some red. Let's see. This is a 8-round Mimic Creative Mark brush. Okay, where I got that one.
Do you do much lifting?
Only as needed. So I don't really do a whole lot of lifting. The whiskers in this area have the kind of a bluish tint because it's in the shadow, so I added a little bit of ultramarine to that.
So as you're painting the fur, like your strokes are relatively short and small and very specific. When you're painting other things like the buildings, do you usually, is that your standard style? Is
No,
very small
that's a good question. So my brush strokes for the cat are, small and whisker-like, I'm moving with the fur. Whenever if I'm doing a building or a person, I might use more, longer flowing brush strokes. I'm going to go back into this dark area and add some more depth to that. Your watercolor, it dries a lot lighter than when you put it on wet, then it will dry a lot lighter. So that's why layer after layer helps build up that darkness. Normally I might have a larger brush than this to do that, but add some imperial purple to that, some sap green, a little bit of ultramarine, and some quin rose.
So you're varying your mixes there, so it's not just all the same black.
Right, yeah, because then it would be really flat. So that having the various tones, like using sometimes you go a little bit on the pink side or the purple side, it helps, have a different flow to the surface. So it's not so boring. And you can always punch up colors. Some people are very dramatic in their color usage. Could be considered entertaining. To me, I like getting that realistic wow factor, like, wow, that looks just like that cat. That's more what I'm going for, not the entertaining aspect of it.
Kara, last painting?
Yes? What's that? Oh, okay, great. Okay, so, got to this point. Wow, it is already 2:10. I want to pull out another painting that I've already worked on. So this is a little bit further, more detailed. So one thing I want to do is I want to pull off the masking fluid on these whiskers. Well, this is the fur. Whiskers. Just to show you, what do you do after you get this off? Because you don't want it to be stark. Okay. Get that. So I want to definitely soften up. Let's see, where did I put the brush? Oh, isn't this how it is at home? Where is that brush? Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to just soften up these whiskers because they're not totally, as you can see, they're not like totally stark white. There might be a highlight on one, on a part of it, but not the entire thing. even the whiskers that are in, showing in the dark, against the dark background, they're not totally white. There's a little bit of color in them.
So you're just pulling from the surrounding colors?
Yes, yep, just softening those edges.
And that's with that softening brush.
Yes, yep.
Yes.
You call those scrub brush, okay?
Yeah, the scrub brush. This one is kind of soft. I bought some before that are called scrub brushes, and they're like hard. And I'm like,
It's thick.
I can't use this on my precious watercolor paper. So I still have not found another brush that's like this, that's kind of soft but short.
Rosemary makes a nice one.
Okay, thank you. Rosemary makes a good soft.
Rosemary.
Because I have an old oil bristle that my mother used, very fine, and I can soften. But it's good to go.
Yeah, well, the rosemaries are nice. They're softer than the scrubbers.
Awesome.
Have you tried the Silver Brush brand of brushes?
Oh, yes, yes. This this is a silver brush. I do use a lot of silver brushes.
I found a silver silk.
Yeah.
They've got like some chisel brushes that are really good for doing that.
Okay. Silver brush silk is a good one.
Yeah.
So for this fur, I'm gonna soften up these edges. A lot of times when you put the masking fluid on it, it has a little rounded edge to it, which is one reason why I resisted using masking fluid for a long time. But after a while, I'm like, if you wanna get a certain edge or a certain realism, sometimes it just helps to have that masking fluid. Well, to get rid of them, that's what I'm doing right now. There's little round edges, they look like commas, and I'm just taking the paint and I'm just painting over that area, putting the brush, making the brush push the paint into that area.
What brush are you using here?
This one is a 6 silver Bell Aqua round. This is, I think, one of their newer lines. So I'm gonna go in and paint a little bit more around this whisker. I have a cat painting that's over there that the coloring didn't turn out really well on the print, but I didn't use any masking fluid on that one. I like painted around every fuzz on the blanket, and it was probably that one. It was like when I decided I think I better start using some masking fluid. Because it really just saves some time, but.
You have something in your water bucket that you're using to kind of help you brush? What is that?
This thing?
Is that a cheese grater?
This actually is a painter's thing where you have the smaller brushes. You know, when you have the smaller rollers, it's a roller. That was from Lowe's, and
It looks like a cheese grater.
wow, might try that.
That'd be real rough.
Never thought about it.
Right.
So you guys will paint cabinets?
See what you see.
It's like artists on a big chart that's
I
retired.
don't want the green one though.
Yes. I think I have some more masking fluid there. Sometimes to feel if you have any more masking fluid, you just lightly rub. You'll feel if you have anything on there.
So within your paintings, you probably bring maybe not as much dark in all of them, like I'm looking at some of the, but there is dark in your paintings somewhere.
Right, yes. Not all of them have this intensity, like the
Yeah, those
cat
are-
paintings over there.
But I
Yeah.
still see some of them.
Yes, yeah, and I do like to have that, like, probably nothing I do is ever just pale colors. There's always some kind of a depth to it.
Lovely.
I'm just gonna do one more little pass over the neck of this cat. Just get a little bit more depth in there. Does anybody see anything that looks like, oh, it need to work on that or that? Okay, sometimes I'm seeing something, I'm like, oh, could you just do that one thing?
Top of the head looks a little flat.
This here,
Yeah.
where's my brush? So this part here, I think it just looks a little too flat, it needs to be, have a little bit of,
Yeah, go down.
right.
Yeah.
Would you ever go back and use gouache or anything to add more lines?
Some people do use gouache. I have been is it called a purist when you don't use opaques on, so I pretty much am a transparent watercolorist. I've done, Transparent Watercolor Society. You cannot use any opaque colors, and that's raises the situation when you're doing a background. Let's say I'm doing something very intensely dark, and sometimes when you get too much pigment, it gets a little shininess to it. Transparent Watercolor Society will reject that from their show. If you have that shininess, they tell you have to soften that, and that's a transparent. Yeah, so. Is that better? Okay, good. Anything else to fix? The ear?
No, I like it.
Okay, good.
So do you ever use any colors like verdant or blue or anything that has white in them, or do you only ever use transparent?
About probably the whitest blue I use is the cerulean, and it gets on my nerves. I don't know. It's just like, I try to avoid it if I can, but it's the most probably opaque color I use.
Wow.
And I don't like how it granulates. I've been searching for a cerulean blue that does not granulate, but I guess that's the nature of the color, so.
Cerulean blue hue.
So, okay, that helped, that works, okay. All right, well, I think this little guy is done. Great, any other questions?
Well, given the background that there's some variation, would you leave it that way? Because there might be light filtering in the room, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to you. I mean, for me, I'd probably be like, that's good enough, So I think I would just leave it, yeah.
Can you pull the tape off?
Oh, yes, actually, let's see, I was going to cut it off.
Yeah, it's gotta have enough
let's see here. I do have a, let's try this.
So have you ever used painter's tape instead of paper tape?
Well, I used the painter's tape to make a white border. I have done that on different occasions, but never to just tape my paper down. I wouldn't use that solely for that.
Plus, your paper's all wet when you're taping it down, right?
Right, yes. So I do have something here.